Hey, how's it going guys? Jack and Matter with the Toasty Bros, and today we're going to be checking out the GTX 1660 Super. Now, this is not a new card. You can find plenty of benchmarks on this card, but we're here to give you some of the best bang for buck GPUs at this very time, and we definitely do not want you all to miss this deal.
Yeah, it's an NVIDIA graphics card. A lot of people want NVIDIA cards but don't want to pay the premium. Well, on the used market, this thing goes for about $120 to $130, and we think it's not being talked about enough. But before we dive into the benchmarks, let's hear a word from today's sponsor.
Today's video is brought to you by our friends at ASRock and their X670E Taichi Carrera motherboard with support for the latest Ryzen 7000 series CPUs, 2 PCIe Gen 5 x 16 slots, a 24+2+1 phase power design to handle overclocks on even the highest end 7000 series Ryzen CPU, 2.5 gig LAN, and a super clean marble design that we absolutely loved in our latest gaming PC build guide we did here on the channel. To learn more about this awesome high-end motherboard for your next Ryzen 7000 series gaming PC, check the link down below. And big thanks again to ASRock for sponsoring today's video.
So the GTX 1660 Super is a really awesome card because it's actually not too far off from something like an RTX 3050. Now obviously you don't have RTX, so you don't have ray tracing, but other than that, it's a 6 gig card. It has plenty of display outs on it. You're typically gonna get 4 display outs. You can get it in 3-fan, 2-fan, even 1-fan configurations. It usually always only requires one 6-pin, so it's not very power hungry. It's a really good card for the price. I mean, 120 bucks and you get in-bank encoder. If you want to do some live streaming, that's a great option for you.
So let's go ahead and run down some of the key specs that you need to know about this graphics card so you can compare it to other cards at home. So the specific 1660 Super we have right here is an MSI Ventus model, and again, this thing does come with 6 gigs of GDDR6 memory. 6 gigs of VRAM is more than adequate for 1080p gaming. 8 gigs is getting closer to being the standard, but 6 gigs will more than cut it, and you'll see during the benchmarks. And yeah, this is a newer GPU based on the 12 nanometer process, and on launch, it was $229 new, but we're getting the price point of $120, $130 on the used market. I think that's where a lot of the value is. It is a PCI 3.0 card by 16, which is pretty important because you will not be limited by going with a Gen 3 only supported CPU, so that's really good for saving some money. Now the default clock speeds with the base clock are 1530 megahertz and the boost clock is 1785 megahertz, and yeah, the overall performance of this card is pretty similar to if you're going a little bit older, like a 1070, if you're going a little bit newer, closer to like a 3050, a little bit slower, but we're gonna find out exactly how well it can perform because we're gonna throw it in this test bench that Jackson's gonna talk about.
So guys, let me tell you all about our test bench. Inside the test bench, we have the Ryzen 5 5600G 6-core 12-thread Gen 3, which is really important because every so often we will be testing a Gen 4 card in this and we do lose some performance for that. So this will probably get an upgrade eventually, but it is cooled by a deep-cooled 240mm liquid cooler just so we don't lose any performance there. We also have a Asus TUF B550 motherboard. We have a 1TB NVMe SSD. We have 16 gigs 2x8 Accelerate from PNY, and that is 3600 megahertz, so we have plenty of speed. And then we have this very nice deep cool case with an XPG 650 watt power supply. So we have plenty of power under the hood to test out this card. Let's see what games and what titles we're actually able to play with it.
Let's do it.
Alright guys, now that we have this 1660 Super on our test bench, let's go ahead and test it in some games, shall we? Now the games we decided to test are as follows. We got Cyberpunk, we got Forza Horizon 5, we got Call of Duty Warzone, Apex Legends, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now once again, our test bench is comprised of a 5600G. Main reason we run 5600G is it allows us to diagnose whether or not a card's working or not with the iGPU baked in. Stay subscribed for future benchmark videos because we will be upgrading the CPU to the Ryzen 7 5700 here in the future so we get Gen 4 support. But with the 1660 Super, this is a pretty budget card, and I really don't see a big impact in the Gen 3 versus Gen 4 issues with the 5600G versus the 5700. So do keep that in mind. It probably won't matter too much here. First up in Apex Legends on medium settings at 1080p, we got 150 plus FPS, sometimes 170. This card is still incredibly capable for esports titles, especially Apex Legends. You could go up to high settings if you want to and get a 100 plus FPS experience. And if you pair it with a modern CPU like a 5600G, or if you don't need the G graphics, you can get a Ryzen 5 5500 or 5600, you will have a really capable 1080p high refresh rate esports PC for around 500 bucks. We use this thing in our little desk meet PC from ASRock with an i3-12100, and that thing was pushing out really good frames, and it was very similar to what we're seeing here in Apex Legends right now. So given the age of the card and the fact that they can be had pretty easily for around $120 to $130, performance is looking good so far. Next up, Call of Duty Warzone on 1080p using the balance preset. This one surprised me a little. We were getting 100 plus FPS, 130 at times, but a few dips into the 90s. This is the game that everyone wants to play, and the fact that you can pick up a used GPU for $130, slap in a mid-range CPU, 16 gigs of RAM, and build a PC for 500 bucks, or upgrade an existing system with an older GPU, you can play Warzone 100 plus FPS at 1080p and have no problems whatsoever. The 6 gigs of VRAM doesn't seem to be a problem with the 1660 Super in this game. I know a lot of games are starting to take advantage of more than 6 gigs of VRAM, especially more than 4 gigs, but the fact that it has at least 6 gigs and not 4 is a good start compared to other new cards that you can buy at this price point. And also, if you're playing at 1080p in a game like Warzone, you're really not going to need the extra 2 gigs. It does help in a card like an RX 6600, which is an awesome option as well, but you don't necessarily need it, as you can see in the results. And if you run medium settings, which is basically the balance preset, you'll be perfect. Next up is Cyberpunk. This is definitely a game that's going to push it to its limits, and we did take advantage of AMD FSR, which does work on NVIDIA GPUs, by the way. We ran that on the performance settings to get the most performance we can. 1080p medium settings, we got an average of 96 FPS, a minimum of 53, and a max of 133. This is really cool to see. I mean, yes, we are using AMD FSR, which does give you a lot of performance. I would imagine with FSR off, you're probably getting about 60 to 70 FPS, but one, the quality looks just as good as if FSR was off, and it looks more than playable, and you're getting higher frame rates, so you might as well take advantage of this feature, and it works on AMD and NVIDIA and Intel GPUs, so might as well use that feature and get some free FPS, and you're able to play a AAA title at 1080p at 60 plus FPS with a $130 graphics card. Next up is Forza Horizon 5, built-in benchmark 1080p medium settings. We end up getting a 95 FPS average. Once again, a AAA title that is running exceptionally well on this budget graphics card given the price point, 6 gigs of VRAM, and it does come with that NVENC encoder. That is a very underrated feature. It'll allow you to live stream as well without sacrificing your frame rate compared to a new option like the RX 6500 XT, which has no encoder whatsoever and 4 gigs of VRAM. You're getting way more value here with this 1660 Super. And last but certainly not least is Shadow of the Tomb Raider 1080p high settings. We got an 89 FPS average. In recap, this graphics card is a steal right now. It's been one of our favorite cards here on the channel when it was new, but now that you can buy it used easily for $120, $130, you're getting really good bang for your buck, especially with the NVENC encoder, and you're always going to be paying a premium for NVIDIA GPUs. If I were to build a PC today with this graphics card, I would go Ryzen 5 5600 or 5500. Either one I think will be fine. Gen 3, Gen 4 probably doesn't really matter with this card. 16 gigs of RAM, and you'll have no problem making a gaming PC for about 500 bucks with this thing. Let us know if there's a configuration you want to see here on the channel. We already did the desk meet with the i3-12100 in this GPU, but we could do something like, I don't know, older Intel CPU. We could go with a higher end Intel CPU. Let us know in the comment section down below, because as always when we do these benchmark videos, we like to do a PC build guide later on with the same graphics card to show you guys what you can do. So let me know in the comment section down below. And how about we bring Jackson back in here to wrap this video up real quick.
Alright guys, we just got done benchmarking this graphics card, and as you can see, it is a really good middle ground card. It is a card that some enthusiasts would consider to be a low-end budget card, but in our eyes, this is still a AAA title and esports title card, because you can play things like the new Warzone at the more basic settings 1080p, and you can even dabble with 1440p with this card. You had the NVENC encoder, you had the 6 gigs of VRAM, so yeah, AAA titles and even streaming them in lower settings will still not be a problem.
Yeah, you can easily use this graphics card in like a $500 or $600 gaming PC and have really good performance. So if you want to pick one of these bad boys up, check the link in the description down below. It would be an affiliate link. It will help us out. Let us know if you end up picking one up and what price you get it at, because that is pretty important. I wouldn't spend much more than about $140, because at that price point, you could start finding used RX 6600s that would be a more powerful card for not much more money. So do keep that in mind. There is a price range where it's actually worth buying. But yeah, $120, $130, an absolute awesome steal, especially especially if you want to get into live streaming.
So as always, we hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, check out our other 2 YouTube channels and also our twitch.tv/ToastyBros. And do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
Now, if you don't really care a ton about all that performance mumbo jumbo and you just want to know the absolute best bang for buck configuration, PCBros.tech, we got you covered.
PCBros.tech, we sell gaming PCs, gaming laptops, and our advice even. You can go over there and buy a build consultation. You don't even have to get a build from us. We'll just tell you what you should go do if you want to build your own gaming PC. And if you use code ToastyBros to check out, you'll save for 2% your next purchase, but not on that build consultation. That still is $10. But see you guys later. Goodbye.
Peace out.